So President Obama set to meet with German Chancellor Angela Merkel less than an hour from now. That's going to get underway. Vladimir Putin facing a Wednesday deadline to agree to a roadmap for peace. But debate continues here at home over whether the U.S. should be sending arms to Ukraine.
When it comes to Russia and Ukraine, the path we're on doesn't make any sense. We need to be providing defensive arms to the people of Ukraine. The Ukrainians are fighting to defend their nation. They want to defend their nation. We have a treaty obligation to stand with them. And right now, unfortunately, the Obama administration is not honoring that obligation.
Strong words from Ted Cruz over the weekend. Karl Rove served as White House Deputy Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor to President George W. Bush. He's also a Fox News contributor. Karl, good morning to you.
Morning, Martha.
So this meeting today, the president has said he's holding off on any new initiative or announcement with regard to our stance on Ukraine until after he has this meeting. What do you expect today?
Well, I expect Chancellor Merkel to push back very strongly on the concept of providing arms to the Ukrainians. She's been very public about that, and she and the French president have indicated that they want one more opportunity to try and negotiate this Wednesday with the Russians to see if there can be a diplomatic solution to this. So the interesting question is going to be what happens if we hold off until Wednesday, and then what happens if there's no agreement or if the Russians don't live up to any agreement.
And what about President Obama in terms of agreeing to send lethal aid? It's been criticized by John McCain and others all throughout this process as basically sending nothing but MREs to these fighters in Ukraine.
That's right. In fact, not only just meals ready to eat, but we told the Ukrainians you have to pick them up in Poland because we don't want U.S. trucks rolling into the Ukraine, and we don't want to upset Russia. And there's going to be growing pressure within Congress, Democrats and Republicans, to provide some forms of defensive aid, military aid to the Ukrainians. For example, detection systems that can help identify where artillery or mortar fire is coming from, anti-tank missiles, which can be used against Russian tanks that are being provided to the separatists. So there's going to be increasing pressure. We also have a responsibility under the Budapest Memorandum of 1994 to provide assistance to protect the integrity of the nation of Ukraine. This is an arrangement that we made with the Ukrainians and the Kazakhstan and Belarus, that if they would give up their Soviet-era nuclear weapons, that the United States and Russia would agree to respect and defend their integrity.
I mean, this is a huge point, and that's what Senator Ted Cruz was alluding to as well. So if you're in any of those other former Soviet satellites, you got to be looking over your shoulder, wondering, so when Vladimir Putin knocks on my door, I have no reason to think that the United States is going to stand by the treaty that they signed.
Yeah. Now, the United States, in defense of the administration's position on this, they claim that they have been very clear to the Baltics, which are members of NATO, that the NATO agreement, which says that an attack on one is an attack at all, will be honored, and that we have said that to the Russians. But if you're the Baltics, you got to be a little nervous that the United States is not living up to its obligations under the Budapest Memoranda, and that they're watching from a seat right next to the arena. They're watching Russia gobble up the eastern and southeastern parts of Ukraine in an attempt to create a land bridge to Crimea.
And yeah, you look at Crimea, and that was just sort of a blink overnight, and that was gone, and everybody just sort of accepted it. And then Ukraine became the next battlefield. I'm curious what you think Angela Merkel is going to say to the president today. What does she want him to do?
Well, I think she wants him to give her time. I think she wants to give. She wants him to say, we will not press for this until and pending the outcome of the Wednesday meeting. But the real question is, what is the president going to say to her? Is he going to say, Chancellor, we have given you and the French the chance to achieve a diplomatic solution. If you cannot reach one on Wednesday, or if you reach one and it is not enforceable, then we're prepared to move. That's going to be the question. What's he going to say to her? And my sense is he's been a passive bystander here. He has said some of the right things about we want to respect the integrity of the Ukrainian state, and we support the Ukrainian people, but he's done little to back it up. The Ukrainians have been very clear they need defensive weapons, small arms, ammunition, and supplies, and they're just simply not getting them from the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't appear that the situation is going to change all that dramatically. If you're Vladimir Putin and you're watching all of this play out at this point, really nothing has stopped him so far. And, you know, he's got a lot of his own economic problems on his plate to worry about, but he doesn't seem to be too worried about any action against him.
I think the strongest action against Putin is to move on both fronts. Move on the economic front, where we need the Europeans put in place stronger sanctions against the Russians that will further damage their access to international capital markets, and then perhaps a few days later begin to provide these defensive systems to the Ukrainians. I think there was good advice from some of the former officials of the British government to start small and start clearly defensive. The first systems might be these systems, for example, that allow the Ukrainians to better identify where the target, where the fire is being set, where the mortars and cannons, the artillery pieces are being used, but ramp it up over time and give them quickly the kind of systems that will cause Putin to say, this is not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Wear them down. We'll see. Carl, thank you very much.